Welcome back to Project Seawolf. We're back in the shop today. My father-in-law already came out and made these wooden templates. They match up the width of the chain plates exactly. So what I'm gonna do with these tomorrow is I'm gonna coat these in saran wrap or packing tape, and then I'm gonna use them to press flat some thickened epoxy onto the hull to fill any gaps, make any wedges, make sure the form of the hull is perfectly flat in the areas for the chain plates before I put on the actual chain plates. It'll just mean I have to re-drill some holes through that thickened epoxy the next day and then bolt the chain plates and the backing plates on. The other thing that I'm gonna do tonight, which is gonna take a very long time, I'm gonna take all these backing plates and I'm gonna make half-inch holes in them. Right now they have 3/8 holes, but I'm gonna widen that to half-inch so that there's plenty of wiggle room for these backing plates to fit onto the bolts that will go through the chain plates. And these 3/8 bolts with 3/16 everything and big washers and lock nuts should be able to get some good clamping force and should be very secure. So yeah, let's get started. Let's start drilling. Oh, and we're gonna take this. This is the backing plate for the bobsleigh terminal, and I just needed a tiny bit wider. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this 5/8 drill bit and widen these 9/16 holes just ever so slightly. And that will help this fit on there as well, because I don't want the aluminum backing plate on there. And then we'll put some Loctite and sealant on it, and then that'll be it for the bobsleigh terminal. It'll be all done. So thank goodness. Perfect. Let's get started. Despite all my previous experience with the stainless drilling, I still had a lot of trouble getting through certain parts. So I ended up using a file where the drill bit got stuck or I couldn't get past. But eventually all the holes got done. Oh, it took some doing, but it finally happened. It's 3 a.m. and here we are. We got all the chain plates all fit together. Wow, look at that. Yeah, all the bolts and washers and nuts are on. They all fit. Now the only thing that's gonna keep them from fitting is the fiberglass holes, which I'm pretty sure I drilled through the bronze, or at least one of the bronze is like a guide. So hopefully it all works out well. And if not, fiberglass is a hell of a lot easier to drill than stainless. Oh my gosh. I did this for 6 hours straight, like laser focused. So, wow. That's an hour for each one. The kids are gonna wake up in like 4 hours. I did this, I started doing this as soon as they went down at 8. And yeah, so, oh my gosh, so maybe even longer. I don't want to think about it. All right, looking forward to installing stuff on the boat tomorrow, or at least getting things ready. All right, it's a beautiful day back at the boat, and I've already gone through and prepped the new chain plate spots. I've got the wood templates that are gonna get wrapped in saran wrap, and so we're gonna put some thickened epoxy down and squeeze this onto there, and hopefully it sits just right, and we'll be able to drill out the thickened epoxy that we put on there tomorrow and put on the actual chain plates. This idea of using thickened epoxy to create a flat spot was the idea of one of the guys in the yard, and he's gonna come by and help me put it on. So he's gonna put his money where his mouth is and let me use some of his fancy tape to keep the templates in place. Rick came by, and whose yeah, idea it was to do this, and we went through and we dry fitted everything. And so these two won't need anything. I'll be able to just press the wood on there with the thickened epoxy underneath. This one we wrote BW for bottom wedge, and so we made a little wedge out of speed tape, and so this is going to get wrapped in saran wrap, and none of this should stick to it. On the other side, we also marked BWs, so bottom wedge on here, and these are all going to be the same size wedge, thank goodness. So another 1/4 inch wedge, and then we wrote T's on top for where we're probably going to need a lot of extra thickened epoxy on the top part. So yeah, now it's time to make sure all the pieces of wood are ready to go, and the wedges are all made, and then we can start taping on the templates and mixing up the thickened epoxy. So luckily the saran wrap sticks to itself, and I can just stick the wood in the middle, and I'm not too concerned about it being perfect or exact or anything, or having the thickened epoxy even be exact, because I can just come by and flatten it out a little bit, clean it up. What I really need is this flat surface, and that's what these wood blocks are going to do for me. I'm going to number each one so that I know who goes where for sure. And I'm going to put a little line on the front where I need to be putting the tape, because for some of them I don't want pressure to be where I want the thickened epoxy to be squeezed out of to fill in areas, because if I put pressure there then it would move the board up. So I'm also going to put some lines on the saran wrap with the Sharpie to make sure that I only put pressure where I need to put it on the boards. The pressure points where the tape was placed ended up being pretty much the same on all of the boards, and the boards were able to lay flat against the hull. All right, everything's done. Look at those. Wow. Yeah. I've adjusted them slightly so that the dry fit's going to be better with the bronze when I put them back on. But look how nice that is. Oh, excellent. And then yeah, so these ones on the end have the biggest thickened epoxy wedge, and you can kind of see that under there. Yeah, it's gonna leave a nice flat surface for the new chain plates. Looking at it from this angle, you can see the first one is pretty much straight, second one's slightly over, so the third one's slightly more, but way better than it was before. Good thing I got some extra length on the bolts, because the ones where there's wedges are probably gonna need an extra 1/4 inch or so, which is fine. I'm not too worried about it. I think it's gonna work out just fine. There'll be toggles on the top of them, and the turnbuckle will be able to move however it wants. Sweet, all right. I'm gonna head back for dinner and watch the kids, and tomorrow we'll be back on and installing the chain plates and getting the backing plate done on this as well, while the sealant's open. All right, we're back at the boat. It's a new day. It's gonna be 70 degrees today. Very nice. The epoxy looks pretty good. Now I imagine it's gonna be a little difficult getting things off, but we'll see how it goes. Just a second. Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling the saran wrap would break, or would break off onto it. That's okay. I'm just gonna have to make sure that I get it all out of the epoxy before I drill holes and seal it. Yep, and then I'm just gonna take off these burrs around and make sure it's all flat and cleaned up, and I think it'll be good. Okay, in some cases the saran wrap seems to be coming off nice, so maybe it's not really stuck in there. It's just needs some convincing, maybe some scraping with a sharp tool to get the edges up and peeled off. Cool. Okay, well that makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, look at that. It's just where the ridges of the wood created a texture in there. That's where it's stuck in. So had I used the actual metal, maybe it would have come off easier. All right, would you look at that? Nice, solid, and not chipping at all off the sides. Very secure on there. Nice and flat now that I've gone over it. Here are the bolt holes. So these on the other ones, like right in there and in there, are the bolt holes. So I expected those to not turn out perfect, but I'm gonna drill those out anyway. So great, nice and flat, nice flat surface. Everything else, there's like little ridges in here, those will be filled with the 5200 when I put it on. So, excellent. Some really thin, thickened epoxy. It's like glass. Well, I guess it is. Yeah. Some places it comes right off real nice. Some places not so much. One thing I've noticed here is that the tow rail is totally broken right here. Like you can see through this crack. So when I redo all the wood on the boat, like refinish it and everything. Oh, there's a screw right there. That might be why. Yeah, all these screws need to be redone. All the wood needs to be stripped of the varnish, and I'm gonna use oil. So it's gonna be a summer job when everything is completely dried out, and I've got a week here coming up from California to redo all this and seal it up. So for the ones that need it, like the ones that had wedges with this little bit down here, I think I'm going to use a little bit of thickened epoxy to fill this wedge, tiny wedge. Get a little scrape so that it fills whatever else is there. This one definitely needs it. These ridges are a bit too deep for my liking. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of sandpaper, make it not as glossy, and then I'll smear on some thickened epoxy, make it flat, and yeah, then those will be good to go. All right, I've mixed up another batch of thickened epoxy just to fill in some of the deeper grooves and pockets and what was left by the wedges. So now again, this one was pretty clean, so it probably doesn't really need it. But I'll show you guys the idea. It's just I've just got a tiny little bit of thickened epoxy. I didn't mix it up as thick so that it permeates a little bit better, but it will still stick to the surface. Putting a nice flat coat in there. I'm not too worried about what it's going to do to the angle of the chain plate as long as I don't leave any thick spots. But that will even things out a little bit, and like there, I kind of wanted a better edge. So it's just some detail work. Make it real nice. Yeah, nice. This one needs it the most. And honestly, this popsicle stick, and using this popsicle stick to flatten it out and just putting some globs on, and then just going up the flat part is really working out great. So I'll put some globs into the deeper gouges and areas that I know I want to that are going to take a lot of material to flatten out, and then I go up, and because it's a flat surface now, it's super easy to just do this, leaving a nice filled in flat area. I want to rub the epoxy in from a couple directions so that I make sure I get into the crevices and everything. Better catch anything that falls. I'm gonna have to make sure the thickened epoxy doesn't fall out of these areas where the wedges were, because it's a big glob in there, and the bigger the glob, the more it's gonna want to like accept gravity and head down. I want the 5200 to be doing the least amount of filling possible. I want this structure to be there underneath. All right, I had some leftover thickened epoxy, so I decided to also address this mount and make it flush. I wrapped the stainless, which now fits, thank goodness, on the backing plate, and then put some thickened epoxy down everywhere and smushed it in, so hopefully that's also flat. When I take that off, I'll put some 5200 on the back and bolt it back down, and some Loctite on the bolts. Cool, we're gonna get all those chain plates done then, and they're all gonna sit perfectly flat. It's gonna be a big deal, and I'm finally gonna be able to erase it off my to-do list. While the thickened epoxy sets, I'm thinking about all the other tasks that I can do. So definitely want to drill the pilot holes for these, and if I can find some stainless screws, I'll put them in here with the bronze bar. I think I found the original screws in one of the cases that came with the boat, so sweet. These look like they'll work quite well. Yep, sweet. They all grab, so that's better than what I had on there last time. Maybe flatheads weren't the best decision, but looks like this is what it came with, so, and it matches the material. And if I hate it, then I'll change it at some point. They all line up. Solid. Sweet. While I was waiting for the thickened epoxy to cure on the chain plate pads, I went ahead and started taking off the varnish from the Companionway hatch, but quickly realized that it was a bigger job than I was expecting, and it needed a little bit more specialized attention than what I could offer it at the moment. Before I get too much further with this project, I'm noticing that it's going to need to be recalked. I'm probably going to want to take off this hatch completely when it's guaranteed to be nice for a long time, and redo all the caulking, peel it all apart, and maybe not the actual wood pieces, but yeah, it definitely needs to be recalked, resealed, and once I start sanding it, I'll know if I need to replace any of the planks. Because I'm also tapping it out a little bit and noticing some areas are a little bit softer or don't have as nice of a tap, like a thud instead of a tap, and that's probably indicating that it needs to be that it's rotted, but I don't know how deeply it's rotted, so I'll find that out when I take it off and sand it and recalk everything. I know I want to transition from varnish to oil. Oil you have to redo more than varnish, but you don't have to peel it off. It just starts to gray out like this color, and at that point you know you need to re-add some oil, so, or to give it a little light sanding and re-oil, which one of my sailing friends did on his boat, and I liked that process a lot better than varnish. The upkeep is more frequent but less effort, so that's nice. Anything to make it a little bit easier for me. All right, so the thickened epoxy has gotten to the point where it's no longer tacky. Yeah, no longer tacky. It's kind of like a hardened, putty now. So a little bit longer before I touch any of it. Yeah, I'm just stoked to get the holes drilled and the chain plates on. All right, the masking tape is off. Didn't see too much intrusion for the thickened epoxy. This one's probably an exception. I put a lot of thickened epoxy down there. So I'm gonna re-drill those. This is the last one that I need to take the tape off of. Hey. There we go. I've ordered a new forward hatch that should be here next week. I've already taken off the chain plate mold, and this thickened epoxy is pretty much cured. Got all the plastic off, so it's pretty much ready for the 5200 and chain plate or backing plate to be put on, and the Loctite as well. Even though, gosh, it was very difficult to get the nuts off, but I think it'd be, especially up here in the anchor locker, because I think it'd be good to be using that Loctite and make sure there's plenty of 5200 on the bolts themselves, because the bolts kind of have like a capillary action where it kind of attracts water and it bleeds the water through, and I don't want the water to be going into the back of the 5200 that seals up the bobstay terminal. So I want to make sure that those bolts are sealed well from this side, because yeah, it's going to be in contact with a lot of rusty water. So make sure that's all sealed up well. Same idea with the bolts in here. I'm going to be using 5200 on the inside and on the inside of the backing plates, or on the inside of the chain plates and the inside of the backing plates. I figured out the nice side of the backing plate and the ugly side of the backing plate, so it should look nice from inside as well. Alright, before I do any more, I'm going to make sure it looks good from the other side as well. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Nice. All right. Let's do the rest. Oh, that one I might have to come in from the other side. Alright, now that all the holes are drilled, a big difference between now and the last time that I did this, I'm going to dry fit all of the chain plates with their bolts before I put any or even think about sealant. So I'm gonna take all of these apart. I'm gonna number all the chain plates and all the backing plates, and I'm gonna stage them behind each area, and I'm gonna dry fit everything and make sure it all fits before I even put sealant anywhere near these. It's a little tight, but I think it's gonna work. Just gonna have to give them all a little tap in. Wow, no gap, perfect. So with the 5200, it'll fill in anything that's there really, and hopefully seal up the screws as well. Now I have to get it out, so but I still need to dry fit all the rest and then get all those out too. I just want to make sure everything fits before I start using sealant again, because I have a feeling I'm gonna have to over drill some of the fiberglass holes to get everything to work exact. And when I over drill, I'll probably just use the same bit, just kind of like go around a little bit just to widen a bit, but they should all fit. Yep, and that was the case with the next one I tried. So the mainstay chain plate, yeah, I'm gonna need to over drill it a little bit. I'll probably come in, I could even go through the bronze here and drill through here. Maybe I'll just set that one aside and move on, and I'll do all the widening all at once. All right, the chain plates are dry fitted on. These two need the middle hole slightly over drilled, but they're almost there. I'm just gonna put the drill through. On the other side, all these fit great, nice, tight. Yeah, and they're sticking out to the other side. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm probably gonna need a crowbar or something, or a couple of pry bars to get them back off to put the sealant on, but it's all gonna be worth it. It's all gonna be worth it, because then it'll be done and I can erase it off my list. Just gonna go real slow and try not to hit the bronze at all. Excellent. The yard is empty. It's real quiet here, except for hammering. All right, now I gotta take them all off. Oh no. All right, I'm gonna go grab the crowbars. Actually, I just remembered. I can just use a hammer and a punch from the other side, and that'll get all the bolts out, and the whole thing will fall off. But maybe I should tie a string to them to make sure they don't fall all the way down or something. All right, we're gonna start with this, the oddball bobstay terminal backing plate. Good thing I'm repainting the whole interior. Just as long as I keep it off the wood, it should be good. The 5200 will also fill up any gaps in the thickened epoxy. It'll distribute the forces, hopefully, or help distribute the forces a little bit more. And because 5200 is slightly elastic when it's dried, it will give everything a little bit of an elastic strength as well. It's pretty dark, but it's on there, I promise. With thread lock and 5200. All right, let's move on to the chain plates. All right, let's start with the 3 on the port side, and then we'll move over to the starboard side. And tightening down the nuts is going to be interesting by myself, but hopefully I can do it, and hopefully it squeezes the 5200 out the sides of the some of the external ones that I couldn't get super tight on there. We got washers, and on one side it says 316 and the other side is totally flat, so I'm putting the 316 on top, plus the 316 side is a lot prettier, so it works out. I fully expect when I tighten everything down and under loads that that these pieces of metal will warp to the shape of the hull. I'll just have to, especially after doing the test sailing, I'll have to make sure I go back and tighten everything down. So not only are we using lock nuts with 5200 on the threads, we're also using thread lock. Now this is where it's gonna start to get tricky. And I'm not quite sure how it's gonna turn out, how I'm gonna do it exactly. Oh, sweet. That worked. Sweet. One done. 5 more to go. With a total of 18 bolts to do and an average revisit trip of about 3 for each bolt, as in I went in and out of the boat 3 times for each bolt. It was a total of about 54 to 60 trips to get all these bolts done. Some of the backing plates were blocked by the tow rail screws, and I had to either trim the screws or hook it in just right, and sometimes even file a tiny bit on the backing plate bolt hole to get it to fit. The chain plates are all completely installed with Loctite and sealant. Unfortunately, it took me so long to do the last 2 because I had to do even more stainless drilling to get the backing plates to fit on there. I don't know what happened because, I mean, you saw they were all on those chain plates and they weren't exactly tight on, so like the things happen, things change, I guess, with temperature and whatnot, and the weird angles of the hull and other hardware to get those plates on. It was very difficult to get the last 2. It took me a couple hours, and unfortunately, in that couple hours, the 5200 was like getting close to being cured. So I spent the last hour or 2 trying to get all the 5200 at least off of the bronze. It'll be easy to tape off the bronze and sand around it, so I'm not too worried about the stuff that's stuck into the messy epoxy, thickened epoxy around the chain plates. It's just I didn't want to have to polish the bronze too much. Should be fairly easy to clean the bronze, even after the 5200 is cured on it. Just gonna use a polisher and some alcohol. So same thing on this side. Yeah, looks terrible with the sealant everywhere, but not for long. Not until I'm able to sand around it and paint. I mean, there's a lot of things on this boat that are gonna look so much better with a fresh coat of paint. And some sanding. Oh my goodness. It's midnight now. I started putting on the chain plates at like 6. Seriously, 6 hours? Another 6-hour job? How does boat work do that? It just adds on like 4 hours to something crazy. All right, this one is finally done. Oh my gosh. Yes. Rubbing alcohol on a rag. Well, that's a big step. And but I'm stoked, and it's gonna be really nice to sand out those areas on the fiberglass and paint over it and make it look nice and get the interior done and make it livable. I want to thank everybody on my Patreon and everybody watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for helping me continue this project and move forward with a lot of big things. Coming up soon, the bowsprit and the forward hatch are gonna be replaced. We're gonna start looking a little bit more at the mast, mainly the shrouds and all the fittings on the mast. And I know very little about the mast and mast rigging. So I would love a ton of feedback about that. And of course, if you have any feedback, you're always free to comment on YouTube or on Patreon. But again, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with it with me, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, that'll buff out. Yeah, it's just rolling off. Good.